It's not clickbait. Not clickbait. The title to this video is not clickbait. Polygamy is allowed in Russia now, and it's official. Let me give you the proof and explain you what's going on, and also tell you of other equally crazy news that happened in Russia last week. Howdy friends, my name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. Welcome to Fridays. I give you crazy news update straight out of the mad circus that Russia has unfortunately become. But first things first, there's no such absurdity that cannot be realized in Russia these days. Please remember that. The news, I call them crazy news from Russia. Remember that. Crazy news from Russia. The news of Russia that matter and that you will not find anywhere in the mainstream media. Now let's jump straight to the news. Let me start with a news piece about cutting corners in the construction industry in Russia. You know, I speak of Russian economy declining and Russian industries declining. But what is the decline in the industry? In the construction industry, to me, there are two types of decline. When there's simply low demand and developers go bankrupt, no one buys apartments or houses. And the second is whatever they build, they cut corners. They use cheap materials and, well, they just cut corners. You've probably, let me show you. I'll exactly, on the pictures and videos, I'll show you exactly what I mean. You've probably heard of Moscow's financial district. It is called the Moscow City. It's right in the center of Moscow, and it's a bunch of skyscrapers. It's beautiful. Check this out. This is how Moscow City looks like. Some buildings have been in operation for a long time, and some are fairly new. And construction keeps happening. They keep on building new high-rises. Among new construction, there's 3 towers called the Capital Towers. Here they are, right in the front. 3 tall ones. They're beautiful, The 2 towers have been in operation quite some time. I think the construction of the project started in 2014, and the last one was commenced, put into operation in 2023 at the very end of the year. And this is another picture of these towers, and you see in tower number 3 is being finished. It is on the picture, it is the summer of 2023. Apartments at the Capital Towers are expensive. This is Moscow's prime real estate. And they start at well over $1 million US dollars, of course. Check this out. This apartment on 32nd floor, there are 67 floors altogether. So this apartment, 110 square meters, which is about 1,100 square feet. 1,100. So this apartment costs about $1,300,000. And there is another apartment on sale. There's a bunch of them. I'm just giving you a couple examples. So, ЖК Capital Towers. This is a 4-bedroom apartment, 195 square meters or 19,500 square feet. And it's right at the very top. It's on the 65th out of 67 floors. This is on the 65th floor out of 67. And the price is cool, $2,800,000 or 283 million rubles. So these apartments are not cheap. There are rumors that Bashar Assad bought a few apartments at the Capital Towers. You know, it turns out that over the years, his family bought around 20 apartments, about $40 million worth. So anyway, perhaps one of the neighbors there is Bashar Assad, who knows? But a very odd thing is happening at the apartments of the new tower that was just commenced. You know, very odd things are reported by the new owners. The Capitol Towers, something has become of a concern, and a lot of owners started complaining. Well, the complaining is construction quality. The subject of concern is the issues with the building facade. The locals have reported that the facade elements are connected to the windows in a way that allow them to creak when outdoor temperatures fluctuate. And this leads to windows whistling and creaking, and in some apartments, the interior windows glass has shattered, bursted into pieces. Check this out. Constant creaking like that. Bursted glass. Now, you see, folks, this isn't your typical apartment block. This is one of Russia's best. The 3 state-of-the-art 295-meter-high towers that are among the tallest in Europe. And the quality is to be desired. Well, now, I would have passed on this news, except for it's not the only time that I hear about crazy low quality of construction recently. This news proves this again, one more time. The quality of construction of the Capitol Towers is just a symptom. The cause is the industry that is in deep trouble right now, in general. The developers are nearly bankrupt or getting to bankruptcy very fast. They cannot sell apartments. They cannot sell houses. They cannot sell facilities they build. And they're running out of money because they have loans outstanding. So they start, and they also cannot abandon projects because they have to finish them. And quite a few of, houses and apartment blocks. And then what they do is they start cutting corners in construction. I've heard numerous reports from people who recently bought apartments of very low quality of construction. It didn't happen in the past. Things were more or less all right, But now it seems like everyone is complaining. If the industry was not in trouble right now, if everything was normal, the developers would have never construct buildings, especially high-rises in Moscow City, with this kind of low quality. Moreover, the construction authorities would never accept this real estate with this kind of quality because they bear personal responsibility. What if the window falls out and falls onto someone? That's going to be a criminal responsibility of the developer and a person from the government agency who accepted that building into operation. So they would never ever accepted stuff like that. But hey, we live in 2024 in Putin's Russia, where this is possible. This is insane. Well, another news is a shocker for many residents of Kursk province. Alexander Hinstein, acting governor of Kursk province, the fresh off the boat, used to be a senator in the parliament. Now he was sent to, I guess, take care of things in Kursk province. So he just had a public meeting with the local residents where he said that the state will not bear the costs of restoring the facilities destroyed during the war. Here is the video of his statement. Check this out. Oops, that's the wrong one. I'll translate you after he's done. The state will not responsibility. Okay, so what did the good acting governor said? Imagine how many villages, towns, roads have been destroyed. The state will not cover 100% of the costs. We are not to compensate for the destroyed bathhouses, not that, and things like that. Not because we do not want to do it, but imagine how many villages, towns, and roads have been destroyed. Schools, hospitals, medical clinics, shops, pharmacies, and your homes have been destroyed. And where is the money to restore all of this? There's no money. And we still have the war going on. And the war has become highly technical, and we need to liberate more lands. And I'm sorry, but the shells cost a lot of money. So we don't have any money for you to rebuild facilities or your homes. Well, Hinstein didn't say anything new. I saw that coming, and I've been saying that Russian state does not care about Russian citizens for, 2.5 years now? To restore roads, schools, medical clinics, people's houses? For goodness sake, come on. Don't be naive. The state doesn't have money for that. The state takes Russians' money in form of taxes and spends it on the weapons to continue the useless war. And that Russian governor proves me right. Now he's speaking publicly about that. I had forecasted for a long time. I have been forecasting. But now the senator is behind me. He proves my points. And it's too bad for Russian people. They were sold this war as a way to make their lives more secure and safer. I clearly remember February of 2022. That's exactly what was said. We have invaded Ukraine to make the lives of Russian people safer and more secure. But as the result of this Russia invading Ukraine, 250,000 of Kursk residents have lost everything and have become homeless. And the state doesn't spare a dime to help them. Hey, to rebuild your homes, where's the money for that? Of course. Another news is about spies and traitors of Russia. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Today, the upper chamber of the parliament approved a bill that amends one of the laws and expands the grounds for labeling people terrorists and extremists. There's a special registry of terrorists and extremists in Russia maintained by Rosfinmonitoring. And if one gets into that registry, the rights are severely limited. Cannot use bank accounts, cannot use you cannot get passport issued, and that's pretty much like civic death. It is a big deal, very big deal. Currently, only those involved in terrorist and extremist criminal activities, official investigations, are included into that registry. According to the amendment adopted now, starting July 1st, 2025, suspects and convicts will be added to the list of the crimes such as spreading fake information and discrediting the Russian army, public demonstration of extremist symbols, murder, if such crimes were committed motivated by hatred. Not convicts, suspects. Make no mistake about it, suspects, friends, suspects. The authorities will be able to add suspects to the registry of terrorists and extremists. What we're seeing right now is creation of another oppression tool that will be used against journalists, political activists, and simply anyone who is not loyal to Putin, who is not loyal to the regime. Now they basically can label anyone as suspect and put them to that list. Don't even have to open a criminal investigation, But that's not it. There's another news. December 20th is celebrated in Russia as the day of the KGB. Vladimir Putin addressed the KGB. Well, he is a KGB officer, semi-colonel, and, in Russia, they say there are never former KGB officers, okay? So he addressed the KGB, his former colleagues. Among other things, he ordered the KGB to step up efforts to identify spies and traitors in Russia.
Дорогие ветераны, поздравляю вас с праздником, Днем работника органов безопасности. В первую очередь, военные. Четкими и системными должны быть ваши действия в войсках, особенно в частях, участвующих в специальной военной операции. В целом, следует оперативно пресекать работу иностранных спецслужб, активно бороться с теми, кто организует диверсии и теракты, выявлять шпионов и предателей. Особые требования здесь предъявляются к пограничным.
To identify the spies and the traitors. Not much I can add to what Vladimir Putin just said, This is becoming more and more like the Red Terror by Joseph Stalin. So far, the differences in the scale, it was much more widespread with Joseph Stalin, and Joseph Stalin executed people. There are millions and millions of Russian, and not just Russian, the Soviet people were simply executed, murdered, with no trials. But you know what? It didn't start in 1939, it started in 1936, and it started slow, and it started, there was no terror at first. So Russia is the country where history repeats itself over and over and over again. The next news is about inequality. Let me take a sip of this wonderful English breakfast tea. So what I drink all the time, I don't advertise this tea, it's just I like drinking it. Extra strong by Twinings, English breakfast. I also drink Taylor's at Harrogate when I run out of, I rotate them. So let's talk about, the next news is about inequality. Oh boy, where do I start? According to Alexei Zakharov, the head of services and HR department of Superjob, second largest online recruiting agency in the country, Russian schools currently need 500,000 teachers. That's how many open vacancies there are in Russia now. And then the guy knows exactly what he's talking about. That's his job. This is the interview he gave to a Russian newspaper called Kommersant, right here. It's in Russian. Well, basically, 500,000 teachers missing. And that is not something unexpected. The labor force has been hit by things like the mobilization in 2022, and that's been going on right now. Since then, it was an acute phase in the late of 2022, and it's still going on. It's been hit by the exodus of mostly qualified, educated, young and middle-aged Russians to foreign countries. The solution to the existing problem is fairly simple, and my recipe is to create the conditions pleasant and safe for people who want to return to Russia and for people who want to work as teachers again. They need to get paid decently, and they need to have good conditions in their workplaces, because before, all vacancies, there weren't any vacancies because they were all filled. So now, what do we do exactly? Well, the war must end. The leadership has to change, the leadership of the country. And I mean the entire leadership, okay? And the country must earn the trust of those who have left, of those Russians who have left, so they would be returning. Andrei Zakharov thinks differently. He has a different recipe. He blames Russian people for becoming delivery men in large numbers. You see, in Russia, right now, a delivery man can earn up to 10 times more than a teacher. And I have something to prove. This is teacher's salary, and it's around 30,000 rubles per month. And that's about $280 at today's exchange rate. This is the proof, a screenshot that I took from Superjob, the very same online agency Zakharov is the executive at. The two vacancies of teachers of Russian language at the city of Rostov-on-Don. The school number 4 and school number 12. So, two open vacancies from 25,000 to 30,000. And then the second one is even lower, 21,000, 30,000 per month. And that's, a teacher of Russian language with high education. 25,000, that's $240 per month. $21,000, it's a little under $200 per month. And a delivery man can earn up to 300,000 rubles, and that's about $3,000, a little less than $3,000. Obviously, people want to earn a better living. And that is the problem. Zakharov thinks that is the problem. I quote, "In a well-balanced economy, a delivery man cannot earn more than a machine operator." Yes, that is the reality. A delivery man cannot earn 3 to 5 times more than a primary school teacher, but this is also our reality, I unquote. In Zakharov's opinion, in order to solve the problem of the imbalance of the labor market, it is necessary to mandatory redistribute people across different sectors of the economy. Again, he's right there in plain Russian. I'm translating it to English. That's exactly what he said. Mandatory redistribute people across different sectors of the economy. Another action is to amend existing tax legislation so those who earn a lot, they would give majority of earnings to the state in taxes. Instead of promoting people to earn more, motivating them, lowering the taxes, Zakharov wants to make everyone earn little. So there would be no incentive for Russian people to pursue high-earning careers. Instead, they would fill low-paying positions of school teachers and the likes. You know, I've heard that music before. The USSR. The work was mandatory, and after you graduated from college, from the university, the state would send you mandatory to the place of state's choosing. And all people got paid peanuts. I want you to note that this is not a Russian government official saying that. That is a regular Russian man, an executive in a private company. I would really like to see him get fired and sent to a mandatory job paying $300 per month. Karma law, where are you? We need you right now. The next news is really crazy. It's about the head of Kursk Region Development Corporation, Vladimir Lukin. In September of this year, I already talked of Vladimir Lukin. He is the repeat guest at the crazy Russian news update. And this is what I showed you back then. You know, please check it out. This is the guy. I want you to take a closer look at this fella right here. This is Vladimir Lukin, our man. And this is no other than the deputy of the Russian Ministry of Defense, Yunusbek Yevkurov. And Yunusbek Yevkurov is awarding Vladimir Lukin a medal, a state award. Official state award. Lukin was awarded the medal for extraordinary achievement in increasing the defense potential of Russia. In other words, for constructing the fortifications in Kursk province at the border with Ukraine. The governor of Kursk and the deputy minister of defense, Yunusbek Yevkurov, awarded the medal personally to the guy. Again, check this out. Take a look. This is a wonderful, this is a national news report, you know, public, open, bragging how wonderful people work for the Russian government. So, national TV news section, right? Well, in September, I said it was shocking because Kursk province was easily overtaken by the Ukrainians as the direct result, also work of Vladimir Lukin, who stole billions rubles constructing the fortifications. And then later, 1 month later, when Ukrainian troops were about 40 miles from Kursk, from where it was happening, he was awarded a medal for exactly that, for stealing money, you know, for fortifications that were supposed to be there, but they weren't, they aren't. Well, today, Vladimir Lukin was arrested. The head of Kursk Regional Development Corporation was detained in Kursk in the case of construction of defense facilities. Well, he's charged exactly for what he was awarded the medal for the construction of fortifications. Only, well, officially he's charged for the abusing his power and stealing federal funds in large quantity during the construction of fortifications on the border. Now, I've got to give you my take on that. Please let me know down below what you think in the comments, you know, check it out. Well, the guy stole the funds This is my take. The guy stole the funds. And I think it's very obvious. The money is spent and there's nothing to show. There's nothing there, okay? But I also find that those who awarded the medal, those who suggested the award, those who promoted the award, and those who actually awarded physically should be investigated and prosecuted, as well as Vladimir Lukin. This is my take. Friends, what do you think? Please let me know down in the comments. And a quick news, but important nevertheless. Russia's largest food packaging manufacturer, called Packaging Systems LLC, has just announced a significant price increase for its products starting from January 1st, 2025. The company, formerly known as Tetra Pak, Russian division, that's a Western company that invested lots of money in the 90s and basically built up the industry of packaging in Russia. Well, the company has left and the assets have been were acquired for peanuts, for cents on dollar actually. So Tetra Pak, former Tetra Pak, plans to raise prices anywhere from 9 to 22% depending on products. This information was revealed in a letter, private letter, sent to large food companies by, food systems by former Tetra Pak. The source of this is a Russian newspaper called Kommersant that I trust. This is a reliable source. Packaging Systems produces a wide range of food packaging, materials, packages, and so forth. Its production is heavily dependent on imports, especially for consumables. In the food market, the company's production remains largely import dependent, especially in terms of consumables. The price hike, the one of many thousands in the supply chain, in the manufacturing plants and processes and so forth, shows that the inflation is growing. And the prices for everything, including food, are constantly increasing. Give me a second to take a sip of tea. We have about 3,800 people watching right now, which is fantastic. Thank you very much. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you one more time, all of you who have been helping me, who are watching right now, who watch my videos usually, who like. If you haven't liked by the way, please do me a favor. I would like to thank all of you who comment, who send me emails, who pray with me, who pray for me. I want to thank everyone who's sending me love, and I feel it. Thank you for everyone buying me coffees at buymeacoffee.com. Thank you for becoming patrons, and thank you for PayPal. Incredible feeling. Thank you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Okay, the next news comes from the south of Russia. The largest refinery in the south of Russia stopped operations after Ukrainian drone strike. Novoshakhtinsky oil refinery plant, I want to show you a picture of it right here. It's the largest and most modern in the southern Russia. It has shut down both primary oil refining units, according to Reuters, citing industry sources. This information is not public, it's private, but Reuters is the company that I trust when they talk about Russian news, so I think that is truth. The only plant in Rostov region, Rostov province, with a capacity of 5.6 million tons of oil per year was attacked by Ukrainian drones on the 9th of December 19th, resulting in a large fire at the company, at the site. Built in 2009, and it became the first large refinery built in Russia from scratch over the past 30 years. Novoshakhtinsky refinery has stopped production for the third time since the beginning of the year of 2024. The first time I was attacked by a drone in March, then in June, and as a result, output of the refinery decreased sharply. From January to October, it processed 2.7 million tons of oil against 4.8 million tons last year, previous year. In total, from January to December, Russian refineries have lost 41.1 million tons, or 13% of capacity, due to downtime caused by the drone attacks and difficulties with repairs due to Western sanctions on the technology supplies. Downtime volume exceeded last year by 14%, or 5.2 million tons. I want you to know that this information comes from Reuters. And it's the first half of this year. This information is given for the first half of this year. Russian refineries in the first 6 months of 2024 reduced gasoline output by almost 20% and diesel fuel by 11%. And that's, of course, due to the drone attacks. Right after, Russian authorities decided to classify the statistics, the data. At the end of May, the Ministry of Energy stopped providing Rosstat operational data on gasoline production, citing the geopolitical situation and the threat of market manipulation. No matter what you do, no matter how you hide information or not, you can't cheat the pump price tags. At the end of August, the Ministry of Energy classified data in a very similar way on diesel fuel. So it's both on gasoline and diesel. No matter how much you classify the data, we will know looking at the price tags at gas pumps. And the prices are constantly growing. The next news is a weekly update on the inflation in Russia. On December 15th, the inflation exceeded 9.5% in annual terms. Food products are becoming more expensive, according to the Ministry of Economic Development. In particular, the price of 1 kilo or 2 pounds of cucumbers, regular cucumbers, increased by 10% in just 1 week. Since the beginning of December, inflation is up over 1%, by over 1%. I remind you, the central bank's target for the entire 2024 is 4%. That's what they were saying in the beginning of the year, in January. What a crock of crap. Well, you know what? I shouldn't say that. I knew that the inflation will be, well, in double digits. That was last year, and this year is even worse. And of course, the central bank knew. Of course, it employs over 50,000 smart, qualified, and highly paid employees. They're much smarter than me, and they're much better economists than me, okay? 50,000 of them. It's just, they were lying to Russians. All of them. The presidential elections were coming up in March, so they were sugarcoating all the numbers. I remember Elvira Nabiulina so honestly looking straight to the camera, was telling Russians in February how inflation was going down and she was seeing anti-inflation elements in the economy. And then in July, she came out and she started telling the truth, you know? And we hear the truth from the central bank now. You know what? Sugarcoat whatever you want, central bank. But when a Russian comes to a food store and sees cucumbers increasing in price by 10% in 1 week, well, they land into the harsh reality. Can't sugarcoat truth. Oh, by the way, the news like that are coming out every single day. That's crazy. Russia is... Well, I don't really want to say I forecasted that. I did, but I've said it enough. That's exactly what I expected. It's becoming sort of a volcano that's erupting. It's not a huge blow up yet, you know, but still. The ash, lava, rocks, you know, fire, the whole 9 yards. So, and if you want to stay on top, you have to know what happens in Russia every single day. Do you have time to go through all the Russian news and find what's important? I don't think so. I do. And I do it all the time. I do it every day. And for patrons of Inside Russia, I've come up with Formula 54. I carefully select the news that I find important and that matter for Russia, for society, for economy, for everything. And I make them available to patrons along with my commentaries and analysis. So if you want to stay on top of things Russia, then you didn't know where to look for the news selection. Look no further, become patron of Inside Russia, and I promise you will not regret. So I'm gonna put the link down below after this live stream ends. So please go and check it out. Sign up. You know, the next news, it's about cynicism and double-facedness. I want you to take a closer look at this guy right here. Some of you, if you know a great deal about Russia, might even recognize his name, his face. This guy's name is Konstantin Ernst. He's been the head of Первый канал, the CEO, the general director, the Первый канал, Channel 1, Russia's premier, most important and largest television channel for 25 years now, since 1999. Konstantin Ernst is one of few grand architects of Russian propaganda. He created Russian propaganda and he has been maintaining it, carefully crafting Russian propaganda. He is among those who controls Russian television and controls minds of Russians through television. On November 4th, 2024, not too long ago, just a few weeks ago, Ernst publicly said that iPhone is a monstrous creation, monstrous invention, because it has destroyed the world of human communications. And Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple and the inventor of iPhone, the guy who created the concept of iPhone all at once, you know, this communication, telephone, and multimedia. So Steve Jobs for Konstantin Ernst is similar to Adolf Hitler. And this is the evidence. Check it out. He gave the interview right here. This is a Russian major news outlet, and it says right here. In the title, iPhone has destroyed human connections And Konstantin Ernst compared late Steve Jobs with Hitler. You know, I admire Steve Jobs. I think that he has done a great deal of goodness for humanity. I have been using his Apple products, his products, since 2011, and I love every single one of them. The only problem is they're more expensive than the others, but they are superior, okay? Thank you, Steve Jobs. Apple Corporation is great in everything. Thank you, Apple, for keeping the quality standard after Steve Jobs passed away. Thank you. And Konstantin Ernst compares Steve Jobs to Adolf Hitler. Actually, you know what? If Ernst explained why he thinks Jobs is like Hitler to him, and it would be his opinion, and I can understand that, and he would honor his opinion, I would accept that. In America, they taught me that everyone has a right to his or her own opinion, okay? You don't have to agree with it, but a person has a right, and you have a right to have your own opinion. Well, Ernst does not honor his opinion. Look at the picture again. Do you notice anything strange? He is holding a personal iPhone in his hand. He is using an iPhone. He is using the device of Steve Jobs, who he compared to Hitler for inventing iPhone, a monstrous invention. That is an incredible degree of cynicism and double-facedness. And you know what? It's not just Konstantin Ernst. It's how they all are. This clique that have hijacked Russia, you know. They pour dirt on the West, on Russian TV. Oh boy, every single one of them. But they go shopping to Italy, and they go vacation in France, and they go skiing to Switzerland. They threaten to nuke England, and at the same time they send their children to study and live in London and buy real estate because they want to live in London after they're done with the government jobs in Russia. Hypocrites and liars. The next news comes from Vladimir Putin himself. I'm not gonna comment much. Just watch this video, friends. I absolutely love it. I said that the inflation is about 9% or 9.293, and at the same time, there is an increase in wages and disposable real incomes. These are average numbers. And of course, the country is huge, and some will say, what the hell are you talking about? What wage increase? Oh my goodness, you know what? I've been telling exactly this same thing for the past 2.5 years, almost 3 years, in the same exact words. My friends, I asked so many times, Vladimir, what in the world are you talking about? And then he just finally, Putin himself admitted it looks just like that, you know? It looks like people ask him, what the hell are you talking about? When he talks about numbers and everything. It came from his own mouth. Thank you, Putin. It's day of revelations, you know. The governors proved me right. And now Putin himself. Thank you. The next news has been, well, freshly baked by Russia's central bank. Russia's central bank held a scheduled meeting today. The key interest rate was not touched and remains at 21%, which is still a lot, but that is an interesting development. Most experts, myself included, expected the rate to be further increased. But this is when economic policy making meets politics. Keeping the key interest rate untouched, Elvira Nabiulina, the head of central bank, served a very powerful blow. She returned a very powerful blow to the military-industrial complex. I believe this is a complicated political game, okay? And this is a part of the war that has broke out between the military-industrial complex and the central bank. I will dedicate an entire live stream next week to this to explain my point of view of what has just happened, and I will give you some forecasts. We'll see. I find this event hugely important, so please stay tuned. It'll help you to understand Russia more. The next news is you must, all of you, you must have heard of it. Last week, two Russian oil tankers, two Russian ships sank in the Black Sea during a winter storm. Now I'm gonna show you the footage of them sinking right now. So there's a captain commenting that he's saying, well, okay, look at that, there's minus one ship. Basically, you can hardly see, but what's happening, that ship in front is being broken in two, in half. He doesn't sound too happy or optimistic. He's basically saying, this is it. This is it. And he's saying some bad words, so I will turn the sound off. And this is the very same ship, only filmed from the ship itself. You can see a huge oil spill around it. Well, I'm not going to be talking much about why that happened. It's very obvious. It's very clear. The thing is, what you just saw were river ships, not suited for sailing in seas, just on rivers. They took river ships, they filled them up with oil, heating oil, mazout, and they sent them sailing to the Black Sea. Well, why did they do that? It's very obvious. Those two ships that sank were part of Russia's shadow fleet that has been moving oil, circumventing the sanctions that have been placed onto Russia. I warned in the summer of 2023, when I made a live stream about this particular topic, circumventing the sanctions in the oil industry. So it was obvious back then that Russians started buying old ships in pretty rough conditions and ships that were needed just for the rivers, not for the seas. Okay, they bought many oil tankers from old ones from Greece, and I guess they have quite a few in Russia. So I discussed, and my words were that these old tankers are an environmental disaster just waiting to happen. Well, it took about 18 months, and it happened. And I think this is the first disaster, and the others will follow. But this is it's been pretty straightforward, and it's made the news all over the world, and you most likely have seen, even you've seen the footage, you know, it's everywhere. But I want you to show something different, because that's not about ships sinking. It's about how Russian propaganda is reacting to this disaster. The state employees started the cleanup operation. Well, obviously, well, you know, some experts say different numbers, but it's obvious that from 4,000 to 5,000 metric ton of heating oil have spilled into the sea. So, and Russian authorities, obviously, they need to start a cleanup operation because it's Russian territory. To the east, it's, you know, it's the Caucasus coast. So anyway, check this out. This is the main scene of this whole cleanup operation. I think this is it. Wonderful, wonderful people. Look, they're doing a great job. Look how brand spanking new their uniforms look like. Look at this wonderful, wonderful white bags. You know, I want to show you again. Look how these tiny little bits of oil, of course, the spills, you know, they take in these tiny spills and they put them away, and the beach is oil free, right? Open your eyes, take a look at that. Wonderful rescuers. This is not oil, this is water, by the way, okay? There's very little oil. It's not a big deal, you know. Let's just clean it up and let's move forward. This video was distributed by propaganda, by different media, Russian state-owned media, Telegram channels, and so forth. You know, it's made the news. Not a big deal. Yes, things did happen. Yes, they're not good, but look, things are okay. Reality, turns out, is a little different. And I want you to see the reality. This is what really happened in the coast of Russia. In Anapa, Vitesevo, and the places like that. Check this, take a very good look at that. And the authorities are nowhere to be found. Only volunteers. And that is coming from hundreds of volunteers who just come out on their own. A fellow is commenting. He's giving the location. Can't breathe. Fumes. About 20 meters, 60 feet. That's 3-4 kilometers and miles is spilled. Heating oil. The worst kind of oil possible. This is the reality. And this is also the reality. And this is also the reality. The lady is commenting. Anapa, it's a large city. This is a river. This is not the sea. The oil spill has gone into a river.
Это нужно убирать граблями, лопатами в мешки. Ну, запах, конечно, ужасный.
It's terrible smell. You know, all birds suffering and fishes suffering. Ecological catastrophe. That's exactly what it is. The lady is right.
помоги это все устранить.
God save us and help us to... This girl says as it is, just I would like to say good morning, but this is not a good morning. And then she gives a location, the beach called Dynamo. Volunteers took oil spills and put oil into bags. But the thing is, bags are disintegrating and the oil is spilling again. These bags are not designed for, for cleaning up oil spills. She shows that this is a regular black plastic bag. But that's the volunteers. They bring their own bags. They bring whatever they have. And then that's what, in reality, that's what happened. She says this is the bitter truth. Well, this is really what happened. Again, compared to what Russian propaganda gives people. All fine and dandy. I love this video. They're doing it on camera. Look, they have like a brand new bag that's been just taken out of somewhere. This is how they work. By the way, there hasn't been much information on the development of investigation of this case, on the criminal investigation. Usually, big disasters like that, they're investigated, they're in the news. No, not this time. They're not telling who is responsible, who was the captain of the ship, both ships, why they were sailing where they're not supposed to be sailing. They're just not designed to sail in a sea, in a storm. Okay, zero. No responsible people. They are acting as if nothing happened because it's a shadow fleet, and it belongs to no, this is the reality. Again, take a good look. I'm sorry, I keep on showing this. And no authorities to be not just found, to be seen anywhere close. Look. I don't like to talk about things. I like to show things. One picture tells a better story than 1,000 words. This is the reality in Russia. I don't know what they're gonna do. This is a catastrophe. I think that's for years. This is an ecological disaster. I've been to those lands, to those beaches, and I like them. Nice in the summer. They're fantastic. That lots of Russians come, and well, this is what happens when you attack your neighbor. All right, before we make it to the last news and the biggest news, polygamy, I'd like to ask you a favor. Well, a couple favors. First of all, please like this video right now if you haven't done so. I worked real hard to bring you the crazy news this Friday. And the second, please pick 3 news that you like the most, the best, and let me know down below in the comments. And if you don't want to do that or don't find any news or think that all news are good, drop me a few lines of encouragement saying, hey, Konstantin, thanks, for what you're doing and things like that. It's going to be very, very pleasant for me to read. Thank you so much. So the last news in Russia, they have allowed polygamy. As I said in the beginning of the video and of this live stream, it is not a clickbait. It is not a clickbait. That is true. They really have. The Spiritual Administration of Muslims of Russia, that's an organization, has approved religious polygamy. According to the Council of Ulemans, the elders, the scholars, and their theologians. From the spiritual administration, Muslims in Russian Federation are now allowed to enter into up to 4 religious marriages. However, this is only possible if the husband treats all wives fairly and equally. This was announced by the deputy chairman of this council and the Mufti of Moscow. Mufti is the chief priest in Islam, Ildar Aleyadinov. And this is the guy. Let me show you the guy right here. The chief priest, the good priest of Mufti, the good Islamic priest of Moscow, the head guy, telling the Muslims that it's okay to have up to 4 wives, but they have to be treated equally, with respect, fairly. Well, not with, he didn't say respect, okay? He said fairly and equally. Now, this news is so crazy that I know that a lot of you will ask, Konstantin, give us proof. This is it. This is it. This is the proof. This is the proof. Russian news outlets owned by the state, Russian propaganda, they have picked up. And RIA Novosti, I mean, you can't get bigger than this. This is Russian informational agency. That's what it's RIA stands for. Russian Informational Agency. This is it. It's true. I know, it's so crazy. Russian law makes polygamy illegal. The Article 235 of Russian Criminal Code regulates marriage. One cannot have more than one spouse. I mean, it's even crazy to think that a person can have 2 spouses. So, to marry another person, one has to divorce first. I remind you, 2024 is named the year of the family in Russia. Vladimir Putin has said many times about that. He's very proud of that. He bragged about how Russia is about families. My understanding of family is husband, wife, and children. Child or children, or perhaps no children, but husband and wife. And Russians have been sold this very idea of family, husband, wife, children, big families, in-laws and all of that. So they've been sold as family values all along. According to many officials, that is exactly what Russia is doing in Ukraine, protecting family values from the evil West, the Satanists. It's them, the Satanists, having this demonical things. They're destroying family values. They're practicing demonical rituals, including polygamy, among other things. It's them, us, Russians, family values. Skryepy. This is what Russia is all about, the light. Values. Well, it turns out that in Russia it is allowed now for Russian Muslims to practice religious polygamy. How's that, by the way? Well, a man can have up to 4 wives, but he only marries one woman. So the state recognizes one marriage. The rest will be his unofficial wives. Not forbidden by Russian law to have unofficial wives, right? Accepted, approved, and well taken by the spiritual administration of Muslims of Russia. There have been millions of heated discussions about this topic in the last couple days. And you know what? Russians aren't taking this nice and well and easy. The soldiers start asking questions. The Z reporters, военкоры, they start asking lots of questions. Russian propaganda even isn't too happy about that. The leadership is silent as usual. And everyone is asking, what are we fighting for in Ukraine? For family values? How is that bode well with having 4 wives, religious marriage, okay? And I agree with them. That's one of the topics that I agree with them. I admit, I don't think that is right. I think marriage is husband, wife, and children, or no children, or, it's up to husband and wife. I used to call Russia the Med Circus. I think it's beyond that now. I don't even know how to call this country. Polygamy, socially accepted by a huge part of Russian society now, the Muslims, approved by their elders? What the heck? Please let me know down in the comments what you think. I personally am speechless. I don't know how to comment it. I'm ashamed of my country falling so low, and that's exactly how I am feeling right now, friends. So please let me know what you think of that. Carthago delende est.